Welcome back, folks. Last time we left off, we were just gotten to this point in our little sculpting here. Just to recap, if you didn't see the first session, what we're doing here is we're just making, actually making a water slide using a template that conforms to ASTM safety standards, and this will be produced in the real world, and we will be finishing up on the sculpting portion of this here shortly. I don't think that I'm going to put too much more into this, and the reason why is because much of the detail is going to end up getting lost through the process, and we will in manufacturing end up putting in a lot of detail in paint. So I don't want to waste energy or time into getting things into production, but we do want to make sure that we have something nice to be able to use for marketing material and things like that. So let's see. So during the break, I went ahead and made sure that my orb brushes were in place. So just to give you a rundown on those, here in Spotlight or Lightbox, I have these orb brushes that were put together by a gentleman on Gumroad. Let's see, where's his information, so I can point to you. If you just search orb brushes pack, they were put together by a guy named Michael I don't know exactly how to say his last name, so please forgive me. Vicente, Michael Vicente, and he's also called Orb, apparently. He's sharing his ZBrushes for anyone that wants to make stylized sculpts. He also has an art station. If you just go to orb.artstation.com, you will be able to find his work. From what I understand, he spent time at Blizzard, may still be there. So it's really cool stuff for stylized things, and that's why I like to use it. So I'm gonna grab a couple of these brushes. Let's see. Okay, so my phone's sitting next to me, and all of a sudden it just starts talking. I guess I had something on. That was kind of trippy. All right, apologize for that. So let's see. So I got these brushes. Let's go ahead and get them loaded up. So let's grab a couple. Let's do this orb flatten edge. I like this one. We'll go through what some of these things do. You can accomplish a lot of the same things with just your standard brushes and ZBrush, but these just make it a little bit nicer in some cases. But I will run through the kind of workflow that I've been using to get up to this point, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm not going to put this noise in. Maybe some of this detail is going to get obliterated through the production process anyway. So we got that. Some orb clay tubes. Okay. So just to kind of give you a rundown on how I've been going about this, we started out with Sorry, I had my AI up. I've been using Claude.ai, and I guess I had something on my phone. I guess I had the microphone on, and it's just listening to me talk, and it was giving me responses this whole time. Technology. Love it. Annoyed by it. Alright. It's very distracting, and I get distracted very easily. So we started out with, let me isolate these parts. So I started out with just some basic geo, shaped it around a little bit, chopped it up with my knife curve and everything like that, just to get some basic shapes. And then we dynameshed it. Need to clean up this edge. Well, once I merge everything together, that will kind of go away. But dynameshed it, and then hit it with some brushes to give it some cragginess, so to speak. So let's turn off solo. And basically all I really did is I grabbed a few brushes from the beginning. Let's go back up to really tackle the surface. I used the mallet brushes. Where's my mallet? There you are, mallet. The Fast 2 mallet. And this is a really good brush just to really stamp down a lot of surface very quickly. And I would recommend just using, like, while you're trying to find your shapes, just go to town on it. Don't worry about being gentle or anything like that. It's just a rock. This could be applied to plenty of other things, but you want to really break up surfaces, just get in there and go to town. Make it gigantic if you need to. The only thing I don't like is that this, the alpha, you can really read it here. So, another brush that we could use is this Warp Flatten Edge. It kind of does a similar thing, but not exactly. So I can still get the hammering, but it has a little bit of a different effect. Kind of like an H polish, a little bit. Like an H polish and a trim brush. So it's really good at going in once I've kind of figured out, like, some surface changes. I can go in and just clean some of that up. Probably need to add some material here because this is going to be in contact with the ground, and I need to make sure that might be okay. I have to have anchor points because this thing's got to be anchored to the ground, otherwise some kids are just going to take off with this slide.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep your operation running. That's why at Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Okay. So we're just going to go over this, rinse and repeat, same thing. Now, if these brushes don't do what I needed to do, the other thing I'll do is I'll grab a trim dynamic. And really just use this to flatten things out, change directions, clean up some of this noise. Now, something else we can do is we can add some material. So let's go with our clay tubes. I will advise that if you're going to use clay tubes, depending on how thick the piece is, like if you're sculpting away, if it's too thick, it can sometimes pull this backside in. So, and the reason why is because this little red sphere that you're working with, or this red circle, actually represents a sphere. Okay, so if that pierces all the way through to the other side, sometimes it can pull material inward. And so to help with that, we would go to our brush palette, go to auto masking, just turn on back face masking. And the reason I go ahead and do that is because down here it's not such an issue, but up here it would be, right? So if I wanted to add material up here without that on, it would basically obliterate all that stuff right there. So then we can of course fix that with some Dynamesh like I just did. Okay, and we're just adding material, break things up, doesn't matter what it looks like. Very quickly, loosely. Don't worry about the finer details. Just get clay on there, get to sculpting. See, I have trouble with getting started with things sometimes because I try to think it through, or once I'm finally motivated to just get going, then it's easy to get it done. But man, sometimes getting there is a challenge. Thankfully, that hasn't been too much of a problem. Okay, so we just added a bunch of noise here, and now we're going to come back over, and I have a dog downstairs that sounds like an old man, so if you hear weird noises, that's it. So if this is too harsh, like it's being right now, something else we can use is our H polish. So if we go BHP, it's our H polish brush.
I used to feel like I was playing cat and mouse with my clients, always chasing them for payments, but now I get paid.
These commercials are freaking annoying. It's a little easier to control like this, so I might just stick with that. I switch in between just whatever seems to work best, you know. Okay. I don't know how much of the audio y'all could hear, but I just went ahead and shut it off because if I get too distracted, I'm all over the place. All right. So I might sometimes wind up going back and forth between clay tubes and the H polish brushes. Build up material and then add stuff. And another one that you could use would be Damien Standard. Let's crank down the intensity a little bit, because that can, what it does is you can pull some of the surface out to a peak, right? Like if you really wanted to define, like, hey, I want this crag to be running this way, right? You could do that and then pull it out there and then maybe cut it in here, right? And then you would use your H polish to come through and then basically kind of really solidify or establish that shape. Something it's a little trick you can use for hard surfacing as well. So that's one thing that you can do. But we'll want to break that surface up. So let's go back to our trim dynamic. And all I'm really doing is trying to find, like, whenever one edge is made, I want to break it up. And whenever I find when there's another one, break that one up. So I'm happy with it. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Of course, there are tons of examples of stylized rock and everything. This is going to get softened out through the process, like I said. Another brush we can use is, say, a planer brush, right? So you can use, I think there's one in the ore brushes. Let's see. Ore brush. No, it's not there. Let's try just our planer brushes. See how this one goes. Oh yeah. Another thing that you can do is switch it from, say, freehand to drag rectangle. Now it's going to go based on the normal that you start from. So if this is a plane, anything that's along this plane is also going to get flattened. So if I go like that, oh yeah. Now, see, so it'll wipe out a good chunk. So that was a little further than I wanted to go. What else we got? That's fun with this program is you can, dude, I can sit here all day just playing with brushes. That one, I like that. Okay. So this is another good way to force these edges, and all I'm trying to do is create contrast. Really, all I'm trying to do. I want surface changes. Like this is a little too round for me. So what I would like to do is, let's go Damien standard. Bring out this edge a little bit. There we go. And I'm gonna cut this in. Then now let's try and force this edge. Just enough. And obviously this is, it starts to get a little crunchy, but that's okay. All I wanted was that edge to pop. There we go. So it's kind of, like I said, it's rinse and repeat. If you lose an edge, pull it back out. Maybe you need to add some material. So maybe grab that tube brush or tubes, add some material so it has something to work with, and then let's try this planer flatten. There we go. It's a little too harsh. Okay. There we go. Just like that. I have some change in direction. And just doing like that all day. I mean, you could sit there and, you know, rocks aren't the most exciting thing in the world, but trust me, there are worse jobs. Much worse. And I've worked them. I would know. We're going to refine this here. Keep on going. Now, another fun little trick that I learned. So if you want to break up this surface a bit, you're working with rocks, right? I saw somebody else do this. So you use your masking lasso, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to go crazy with this. It'll make sense in a minute. Now, let me go through and make sure that I'm not going to wipe out the back side of this thing. It looks good. Okay. So with that, now I'm going to, let's see. I'm just going to do a deformation. We're just going to do, let's try inflate first, see how that looks. And just like that, we have some surface deformation, and we didn't really have to do a whole lot, right? And so re-dynamesh, and let's go back, grab our clay tubes. Let's fill this out a bit so it doesn't completely fall apart. A lot of this stuff is going to get dynameshed to the other pieces, so we're not going to get too precious with that. I mean, but without, I mean, just a simple little trick, and I've got some interesting formations taking place, right? And this will get picked up by the tool a little bit, so that's kind of cool. And let's see. All right. So before I get too far, let's go and work on the other side. Sorry. Let's turn off solo so we can be looking at it in the round. So that one is looking pretty good. Let's repeat that same thing we just did. So use our lasso. Do a simple little inflate. And the vibe we're going for here is desert rock as it is. So we kind of want this striated stuff happening. And so I want to not just leave it up to the paint. Let it capture some shadows a little bit. And so that did pretty good. Pretty good. And so let's do it again over here. The only thing I worry about is that my lines might go the wrong direction. So let's turn on transparency. So not too bad. Probably could add a little more information on this side. So why don't we take a step back before I go all that distance? Let me add a little bit more material on here, and then we'll go through, and that'll kind of be our way of tidying all this up. Something else we can also do had some cracks running down here. Of course, it's good to be a little more, intentional with this. Don't just kind of slowly do it. Like if you're going to add one, just cut it across. And it's going to read much better. Unless it's supposed to be like some kind of chiseled thing. Like if you do it like I just did there, it doesn't. I don't think it looks great. Other people might have a different opinion. That's how I feel about it. Okay. Okay. Let's adjust our light a little bit. Maybe that'll help me to be able to see. There we go. If you offset the light to the side, it'll cast a bit of a shadow. It makes it easier to be able to see what the hell I'm trying to do. So I'm going to take a step back here and here because I want it to be kind of a uniform thing. So let me bring back the history. There we go. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take all these pieces and we're going to merge them together and do a Dynamesh. So we're going to go subtool, so I'm going to duplicate this one, duplicate, and duplicate. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to have my own sort of history built in already. All right. So we're going to merge down. Okay. Okay. Make sure we're all in one polygroup. I'm going to go ahead and turn off everything but what we're currently working with. So now we kind of have like our basic shapes here. I'm going to do a little more sculpting, and then we'll start getting ready to break down this geometry so that we can get something that we can work with. want to break up this area here. The primary reason is that I want to try and eliminate any kind of climbability. I mean, if kids are going to climb on this, it doesn't matter. They're going to find a way. But you got to try. One way I can do that is adding some material so it changes the slope. There we go. And we can come back over with the H polish. All right. Let's add some material here. Yeah. Okay. Let's check and see how this thing looks from all sides. Also need to make sure that I'm not making this thing too wide. So let me check here. Okay. What this amounts to is a lot of material in foam. I mean, it's going to be a lot of foam, EPS foam. try and fix this so it's not, so it's more of a, so it's kind of flaring downward instead of what it was doing. It was kind of bowing like that. It's not terrible, but just didn't really care for the way it looked. So we're going to pull this way. I don't want to lose material on this side though. And just kind of push it in. There we go. All right. Should have fixed most of that issue that I was having. And now start working on wrapping this sculpt up. If you weren't here in the last session, this block right here just kind of represents the slide chute, and so this is going to get booleaned out. But I do have to make sure that I'm going to have enough material so let me duplicate this guy, bring him down, and let's turn on live boolean. What I'm looking for is how thin some of these areas are going to get. Because if it gets too thin, we might have some issues with strength of the material. Now, some of that can be fixed with adding things like fiberglass, but that's an expensive process. It takes a lot of time. It's not so much the material, it's just the time involved with dealing with it. And that's what you should know if you're going to produce anything, whether it's a 3D print or a bronze sculpture. I've worked with all these things. It all ever boils down to the labor. The labor. I mean, it just takes a lot of time, and you can't rush them. These materials are designed to behave certain ways, especially these resins and such. So you have to work around how they are designed to operate. That's simply the way it is. I was so glad whenever they added this feature It's been a while since I did that, but man, sure makes a difference. Not crazy about this overhang. So let's, no. See what we can do to eliminate that. How far back do I have to go? Yeah, don't be afraid to just grab stuff and move it around. I mean, you got to be able to check and see if something's just not working. It doesn't work, you know. So maybe we can fix it by pulling this down. So I'm not crazy about the way that this is cut, but what I'll end up doing is after I do the live boolean, I'll do another Dynamesh and I'll come through and I'll clean this up. So it's a little bit of back and forth, you know. All right, so here I think this is where I'm going to go ahead and basically go to the next step in this process. And that's going to be to go ahead and do a live boolean. But before I do that, let me adjust some of the shape of this. Make sure that everything's good to go here. So I'm going to extend this out a little bit so that it cuts all the way through. There we go. And whew, it's going to be thin. I think it'll be okay. If not, the engineers will let me know. So here I'm going to go Boolean, make Boolean mesh. It's going to go through, do its little operation, let it do its thing. Don't try to interrupt it if you're working with this stuff, because it will crash on you. Now I'm going to append that mesh, and then let's turn off live Boolean. Turn everything else off. Okay. Now we're going to take this as it is and continue working with it, because I want to try and sculpt out some of this detail, like yeah, this might be a little, it's gonna be close. You have to remember that this is going to be held up by, there's going to be a fiberglass slide here. Some plumbing needs to run up in here, so this might have to get a little bit thicker. And if it does, that's okay. Not a huge deal. But this section right here, might get a little heavy. So let's try and help that out a little bit. So I'm going to duplicate. Sounds like we got some rain or something. We got a tropical storm hitting the coast down around Brownsville, I believe. I'm close to Austin, but we're still going to get some of that weather probably. So let's see. So I made my duplicate. Let's turn this one off and let's go ahead and Dynamesh. I think we were at 304. It's not too bad. All right, so now I want to go through and try to clean up some of these edges, and want to make sure I have a few things on. I use this template as kind of a guide of like, hey, here's where I cannot cut into. Don't want to go any further than some of the areas here. So far so good. Just a little sit down bar. It's just a way to make the kids sit down whenever they go onto the slide. All right. You can see some of the wall right there. Probably build some of that back out. So let's do. Effectively, what I want to do is I want to terminate this. I want to get rid of this super harsh edge. So one way that we could do it, we could add material, but I really prefer not to do that. So I'm just going to go along the whole thing and just do a trim dynamic. You see my little wall right there. Whenever it comes to slides, the ASTM standard for slides is that they should have a minimum of a 4-inch wall running the entire length. So we have some material, we have some leeway here that I can cut into, no problem. And I don't want to go too high on this, but this should be pretty okay here. Shouldn't really affect the slide zone at all. Sometimes it doesn't really know which direction that it wants to go because it's just so thin. So if you can get it to break just a little bit, come back through, dynamesh it, keep going. And for these purposes, it's super okay if it's crunchy like it is. Not a big deal. I think my dog's flipping out because of the thunder outside. Okay. Another one, we want to start dealing with this side. Because it'd be kind of weird if you got this whole mountain and everything, and then you just have this flat spot, right? We want to make sure that we make it look nice. Because when you're designing products that are going to go sit in a park somewhere, people are spending their hard-earned money. Or tax dollars or what have you. you should give them something that looks nice. Doesn't look like it's halfway thought through. And that can be hard sometimes because, well, not hard. Deadlines become a challenge when you're dealing with public works and things like that. You're dealing with a host of contractors, and many of them are going to be putting in bids for things, and different people are going to be competing to win a bid, and sometimes people want stuff super quick, and unfortunately unfortunately things just don't always work out that way, you know. So you do have to manage expectations with your clients, you know. Just have to let them know what's realistic, what's gonna work, what isn't. It'll all be all right. Okay. So something else we can do here is we want to maintain this space, but what if we added some sculpting to it just a little bit? It doesn't need to be a whole lot. Carve into it just a little bit. I just want to break it up a bit. It doesn't have to be much. Oop. A little more than I wanted. I do want to add some material here because I am concerned about how thin it's getting here, right? Another thing I want to do is kind of break up the shape here. There we go. Increase my smooth a little bit. That'll help with that. We're getting pretty close to that edge. Really, all I'm doing is trying to add a little noise. Keep it from being so bland. And of course, I will have to limit it because it has to be like a really low relief. As far as our slide area is concerned, we don't want to have anything going into there. These slides aren't super fast as it is, but it don't feel too good if you going down a slide and you don't think that a few little bumps would hurt, but when you're going down there, 20, 30 miles an hour, especially on these larger slides, it'll definitely hurt. Any little bump. Okay. Switch to our H polish. Try to clean some of this stuff up. I'm going to increase the resolution on the Dynamesh. Let's say about 500-ish. There we go. It's going to give us a little more material to play with. So before I get too much further, I'm going to add these last few little details before I go very much further, what I'm gonna do is I need to basically get this thing over to my engineers to have them review. Um, even though I do, even though I am a certified playground safety inspector, it's good to make sure that I have somebody else look at my work. Even whenever I was in the Marine Corps, like when I was working on airplanes, you didn't inspect your own work. It's a no-no. So keeps me honest, keeps other people honest, and so I'll have this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically here in a moment I'm going to decimate this thing, and I'm going to bring it over into Rhino, and I'm going to convert it to surfaces. So I can kick it over to the engineers and they can have a look at it. Okay. Pull that out just a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this version of it. Let me close this folder. Close that folder. We're going to duplicate. Let me rename it. Go ahead and save while I'm at it. Then let's go ahead and decimate this bad boy. It's not very dense. It's only 249,000 points, or active points. Yep. So I'm going to go pre-process. Well, excuse me. All right. I try to get this decimated down until it starts to like destroy the surface. So let's see. 20% of its surface might be too much. I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, but let's try 40%. Okay, sure. I'll take it. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here is we're going to export in FBX, but before I get there, there are some things I want to make sure that I have visible, because I only want to export whatever is visible. I'm going to turn that off. Turn off solo. I don't need these mounting locations or the sit down bar, because what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to drop all of this into a Rhino file. So I just need, let's see, my ASTM tools. There we go. Only thing I need is my reference cube. Everything else will be fine. So let's go export visible. I don't know why that came up, but whatever. We're going to export this. Okay, from here, now we're going to open up Rhino. Where are you at, Rhino? Going to make a new file. Actually, just open one. My downloads. Just got to make sure I have everything. So let's see. No, it just went blank on y'all. There was a reason for it. All right. So we're gonna go make a new file, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna import all that. So all right. Hopefully this imports at the right scale. If not, it's okay. It's kind of gigantic. We'll find out here in a second. I'm going to group this together. See, in art school, we didn't use Rhino. We used ZBrush and 3ds Max. I still use those. Had a sneeze there. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just creating a reference line, and the reason is because I need to be able to graph from a midpoint, and I also need to take a measurement. So I want to find out what the size of this object is. So if we go from here to here, it's 1 inch. Perfect. So this whole thing is at scale, which is good. I want to get this a little bit more squared away. So I want to move this whole thing. So we're going to go move. I want it to go to 0, 0 in the world. Okay. Now, just having a look around. All right. So whenever I import something into Rhino, I always import, say, hey, this is just my mesh. And I go through a handful of iterations here. What I'm doing right now is I just need input from the engineers. So this goes through 2 different stages. Like, I'm going to do this time to get them to have a look at the surfaces and let me know whether or not they see any things that I missed, as far as whether or not somebody's going to get their eye poked out or anything. So there's no point in me going through and painting something up and all that other stuff if I wind up having to make some drastic changes down the line. So I'll take this mesh and I'm going to just leave it as it is. I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to copy it and paste it and drop it into this sub-D file. So I'm going to go change object layer, make this active, and let's change the wire color to just black. Let's do it on here too, otherwise it'll be weird looking. It's just easier to see for me. So we're going to do a quad remesh. This is how you take something from ZBrush into Rhino and maintain its form. And it just depends on how much of the surface you want to have preserved. So right now we're just kind of previewing, seeing how this thing may look. So you can see here all that little sculpted detail that I put into there, with only this much information is kind of gone, right? And it's what I kind of said from the beginning. But I have the general form. So that means whenever it gets carved on the machine, then somebody can go back and add some detail by hand. And even adding more, I mean, it picks up a little more detail. So we'll go with this higher value for sure. Let's see if I can change it to another view. So the surface isn't terrible. Okay, so from here we need to get surfaces, because this thing eventually has to go into SolidWorks, and SolidWorks only really works with parasolids and surfaces and stuff like that. So I'm going to do the same that I did, copy it, paste it, and then drop the new one into the correct folder. These other folders here, I'm not going to use them, so I'm just going to get rid of them. And then whenever I have, if I had more than one piece, like some pieces have, you know, other geometries and things that have to get welded together, then I would create a substack of layers, and I would keep all those things separate, and then have one that's just everything joined together, kind of like I did in ZBrush, just to kind of keep you know, a history in case I have to go back and change something, because not all programs have allow you to save the history. So you need to look out for yourself whenever you're working in these things, and that's one of the best ways I've been able to find. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to tell it I want to go to NURBS. Do you want to save? No, I just saved. And all I'm doing is telling it, you know, how do I want the faces packed, and do I want to delete the input object whenever it's done. I'm going to say yes. And it'll take a minute. Faster machine is going to work faster. This Windows 10 machine is going to take a minute. It'll be okay. I may have made a fatal mistake here. Sometimes whenever you click away from Rhino, it will lock up. But we'll see. Just let it run its course and it'll figure itself out, hopefully. And that's why we save. So Rhino 8. I'm going to end that task real quick. Okay. Because things like that happen. So let's start back up. This is just part of the process. So we saved. It's a good thing. Okay. Let's try it again. This time I'll do my best not to click away. Alright. So surfaces, we have our surfaces. We're going to go to NURBS. Negative. Alright. So it's going to take its time. All right. That took for freaking ever, but now it's done. So now we have a NURB surface from our original mesh that we dropped in. And this can be used for documentation. They'll drag this into SolidWorks to get all their piping diagrams and all the other stuff that goes along with it. Also, it's easier to manipulate in here, so I know I'm going to have to slice off the bottom of this thing, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll go Solid Tools. I'm just going to do a quick Boolean difference. I want to try and get an idea of just how large this thing is. Well, there's an easier way to do this. Use the bounding box. Pull our measurements from there. Turn on OSnap. Drafting. It's not that bad. Just over 7.5 feet tall. That's not bad at all. Pretty good on the width too, and length, that's not that big of a deal. You have to remember these things have to go onto a truck, and pretty okay on the length as well. All right. Add this to this layer, change. All right. Oh, dang it. Well, that's not that big of a deal. Actually, it is. Huh. Okay. Actually, this is why I work in a non-destructive way, because I can, whenever I have situations, so what I'm looking for here is this guy right here. So I'm going to go ungroup. I'm going to make a new layer, 1 inch. want that so that this thing in 3D space matches up with the template that I have. So that everything can get squared up right nicely. Okay. Cool. So that's, I mean, from this point, I'm going to take this, I'm going to kick it over to my engineers, and I'm going to let them rip into it. And if anything needs to change, we'll come back and we'll fix it from there. Not the most exciting thing in the world. It's not explosions and unicorns and all the other stuff, but this is the kind of thing that you have to go through if you're going to work in production with 3D. It's more fun whenever you have little characters and things like that, but the process is pretty much still the same. So the next time that I get one of these, I will definitely be up and throwing that on here so that we can all learn together. And we're also going to work on some sculpture projects, some of my own personal sculptures, and we will be taking those from concept. So we'll start with the hand-drawn concept, move into modeling in ZBrush, then we'll do some printing and see how it looks on the print. We might even take it to a situation where we run a print but then add a layer of clay or something to it so we can manipulate it by hand, and then do some mold making. We'll see how it goes. I want to go a couple of different ways because there are people who work still in the old-fashioned way. There's people who don't really do anything with computers as far as sculpting, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I want to educate and bridge the gap between all directions so that you can work in any medium that you want to and get the output that you want in the end. And so we'll be doing some bronzes at some point, and just stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed what we had going on today, and leave a comment, subscribe, share if you'd like, if you found this useful, and I appreciate your time. And feel free to reach out and ask me any questions you want. Take care.